Okay, let's talk about national unity, starting with national ideology. So No's personalism in the Republic of Vietnam was a major failure, and that is because it was ideally meant to complement individuals' rights with emphasis on family, community, and government. However, this ended up just being lip service to No's obsession to establish a totalitarian government, and this further perpetuated hatred of the majority against him. Ooh. Moving on to Burma, we had UNU's PIDAFA and also Nguyen's Burmese way to socialism, which were also failures. They failed to generate economic growth, which would have appeased the already displeased Burmese population. Also, UNU made Buddhism the state religion, which further pushed minority away from him. In terms of Nguyen, on the other hand, his military was extremely unforgivingly brutal to people with political diversity. On the other hand, Sukarno and Suharto's Pancasila in Indonesia was extremely successful. So Pancasila was established by Sukarno and it ensured that it was inclusive and considered a diverse population of Indonesia. This was especially seen as he amended the exclusively Islamic principle to cater to the diverse population. Now Suharto enforced the Pancasila by introducing courses on it for government employees and also required all political parties to follow it as a guiding ideology in 1985.
This was successful as the Pancasila was seen as a source of national pride.
Now moving on to Singapore, who was also successful with their 5 shared values, one of it being racial and religious harmony. These values were used as a national commonality through preservation of Eastern roots, especially with increasing Western liberal influences. Now moving on to the religious policies. As stated earlier, UNU had made Buddhism as the state religion, and this was extremely unsuccessful. He forbade the slaughtering of cattle as well as the eating of beef. Now, this led to many minority rebellions, especially among the Shans. Now, to appease them, he gave them autonomy. However, this sparked military action and led to his takeover. Now moving on to Sarit's 1962 Sangha Administration Act in Thailand, it was both successful and unsuccessful at the same time. The act placed religious authorities under Sarit's control. Monks were used for community development projects in villages of rural Thailand, and non-Buddhists were induced to become Buddhists through a government-sponsored program. However, Muslims in South Thailand rejected developmental projects. This is because they saw as carrots dangled to compromise their territory and their religious identity. As for Sinakhug's Cambodia, it was extremely successful, and this is because Theravada Buddhism was already a main religion in Cambodia, and hence it was a naturally unifying force for the population. So, Theravada Buddhism was used by Sinakhug's political party as a foundational principle to the party's ideology. Moving on to the educational policies, starting with Suharto's Indonesia, it was successful as the expansion of education sector, especially in higher education, meant that more people were exposed to government policies. Pancasila was also placed as a guiding ideology in the school curriculum starting from kindergarten. Sukarno's Indonesia was also a success, as it provided premise for use of history and Bahasa Indonesia. The Battle of Surabaya against British troops and the primacy of Sukarno in fight against the Dutch highlighted the shared experiences of the common Indonesian. Bahasa Indonesia was also a common language. Sarit's Thailand in 1957 was successful short-term, however was unsuccessful long-term. Emphasis placed on higher education won over the previously isolated rural communities. And younger Thais had more stakes in Sarit's policies and goals as they had benefited from his initiatives. However, in the long run, it led to a more politically active generation, which led to political divisiveness within Thailand under the new successor. Now, Sarit's policies in 1961 in southern Thailand were unsuccessful as it was seen as forceful since Pondoks had to teach Thai language, which was less popular than Malay, and it was also seen as associated with Buddhism. Also, to add on to the carrots dangled, which were the financial aid for compliant schools, they also threatened to close down any non-compliant schools, which showed that Sarit was not genuine. As for Marcos' Tahana project, it was unsuccessful as it was a 19-volume history of Philippines, meant to create common national narrative in face of increasing criticism. It failed as only 5 out of 19 were created. Plus, the project kept getting offset by Marcos' inept leadership and people kept trying to unseat him. Tun Razak and Mahathir's policies were also a failure.
Malay was the main language of instruction in government schools, and English, Chinese, and Tamil were only offered in private and vernacular schools.
This further perpetuated communalism and divided Malaysian society.